Good morning, everyone. 12th of October, and not a lot going on up in the fleet, but we'll get into that in a minute. And I'm going to once again, I'm going to talk about the challenges ahead for the fleet, because it's quite confusing down here at the moment. So here's Trinidad, that's the turn point. So everyone's assuming we get to there and just head across to Cape Town, and that's not going to be the case, because you can see on, in fact, I'll just zoom that up one more and see if that's going to work. Nope, that went 3. Okay, you can see here the winds are going to come from the south or the southwest, southeast rather, southeast. That's not really good, but if we they'll be there in a couple of days. So if we just extend across to the 14th, I went through this a little bit yesterday, but here we go. Hang on a sec. 13th, there's the 14th, a couple of days from now. So Simon will be approaching Trinidad at that point, and you can see there's light winds, but they're coming from the east, and that's exactly where he wants to go. So he's not going to be able to turn there. He's going to have to keep coming down. And if we go another day over to the 15th, you can see it's going to get really light and confusing, but for sure the wind is coming from the southeast or the east. And that's not good. There's light winds, so it'll go slow, but you can sort of start to see a South Atlantic high forming up here, and unfortunately it's down really low, so that means that the top of it's going to create some headwinds. So we come across another day, and you can see all the winds are coming from southeast, so Simon will have to make a decision on whether he tacks across into this light stuff or whether he keeps going south. It's just really messy, going to be very confusing. And if we look at what's happening down here, it's all being pushed. This is a bit of a South Atlantic high being squashed up and being pushed by these strong low pressure systems down in the Southern Ocean. So it's going to be tactically very interesting. If we go across here, this is the next big deal. So this is now 6 days ahead. So Simon's going to be sitting around here wondering what to do, and you can see a South Atlantic high forming here. Okay, and it's down quite low. This is the roaring 40s down here. This is the 40 degrees south latitude. And if we go forward just a little bit more, you'll see this is now a distinct one. This one is, what is it, still 7 days ahead. So by this stage, in about 7 days, you're definitely going to have the next group of Kirsten, Abelish, Pat and Tapio. They're going to come straight into this, and it's impossible. They're highly unlikely to go and tack across this on starboard tack. They may, but we'll just have to wait and see. They might continue south. And I remember usually what happens here for square riggers or whatever it is, they come down and they literally keep going south until you get into the roaring 40s, which are usually predominantly westerly winds, and then you get across the bottom of the Atlantic, and then you head up into Cape Town. So you very rarely approach from the northwest sort of thing. So that may be what's going to develop. We don't go very much further forward of that. We only go through to the 21st. But you can see now this is a typical situation where the high is going to go across the east and block. So lots of decisions and interesting situations coming up. Lots of heavy winds as well. This is into the 60s, 50s and 60s here, gusting up. So the whole nature of the GGR is about to change very soon. So back to real time now, and we'll just zoom in on the fleet. So Simon is still pulling away, or not pulling away, but he's holding his own, and it's interesting to watch what's going on. There's a fair bit of breeze here. That'll be gusting over 30, 35s maybe. With these yellows, the forecast is 25, 28, so it's gusting up to 30% higher. And that's what the guys are reporting. When speaking to them yesterday on the phone, they've got small seas, 2 meters, 2.5, but very steep. They're slamming into it, water over the deck, and the wind is way forward of the beam. Tapio's saying he's keeping it sort of 45 degrees, and virtually just about going to windward. Anyway, Abelish has now come around on course, so he's slowed down. He's got to keep to the rum line now, because Trinidad, this is the turn point here. You don't want to get too far over to the east. It's potentially a bit of a problem. However, it's surprising to see Kirsten over here. She knows this really well, and I think she knows that she's not too worried about this point here, because she'll know that it's highly unusual and rare that you could actually turn at that position. So I reckon she's maybe thinking she doesn't need to head for Trinidadi. She's going to end up going further south, and when you do, you can see how the breeze hooks around, and it's eventually going to come favourable, and then she might come around. I'm making lots of assumptions here, but I'm trying to imagine what's going on in her head, because she knows this area better than anyone, and she's obviously not concerned about being over there. She's staying up with boat speed. She's making 6.5. If she comes over toward trying to get to this point, then she's going to slow down because the wind's going to go further forward of the beam. So she knows what she's doing. Normally you'd say, oh, she's too far over to the west, but there you go. So Pat's making 5.9, Tapio's making 6, Avalish is making 5.8. So this is an interesting little group there anyway. So we'll watch that space. Damien didn't come up on the tracker at 4 o'clock, so we've noticed that the last few days there's something going on with his 4 o'clock position. We've reported it, we're monitoring it, but he's a bit further forward than that. So it says he's only making 6 knots. That's pretty fast. So he's not complaining. Anyway, and Captain Goog 5.8, that's pretty good. Surprised at Jeremy, he's lagging a bit behind there. This could be a nighttime thing, I'm not sure. He's only making 4 knots at the moment, but he only made 65, I think it was, nautical miles in 24 hours, which is, who knows? I'm not sure what's going on there. I would have expected him to be doing a bit better. Guy is... at least he's on a roll, still only making 4 knots as well. So what may be happening is the weather back here is softer than it's showing there. It is a little bit lighter green in spots, so it may be lacking breeze. That's possibly the issue. Ayrton's happy, 5.6 knots. He's holding his own again. We spoke to him the other day. He's very happy. So he doesn't like the doldrums. He was shocked at the doldrums. And anyway, Ian Herbert Jones just fluffing around again. No wind, obviously. All's good on his boat. He's reporting everything's fine. Just frustrated with the wind. Nord's the same. 0.5 of a knot, so hardly moving in the last few hours, or the last 4 hours. And Elliot, boy, the story of today is that Elliot had his main steering compass and 3 handheld compasses. His main steering compass is now not working, and 2 of the 3 handheld compasses are also not working. He's down to 1 compass. And we just had an interesting discussion in the office what that means if he loses that compass. So you can think about that yourself. It's not impossible to get around the world without a compass, but it's extremely difficult, and it's very challenging. So anyway, watch this space. So if we now start looking at the weather going forward, let's see what happens here. The lower guys are pretty much hooked up in the trade, so that's not a problem. This is tomorrow. Not a lot happening around here if these guys don't get moving. I don't think Arnaud's going to get away from this, so he'll still be in very light winds. Ian, not sure. If he makes a little bit, he might start to get on the edge and get moving. All of these guys are fine. They're going to have breeze. They'll keep going. Elliot's going to get a bit of a breeze. He's got a little bit now, making 3.6. He's going to continue with that, so that's not too bad. The leaders is just stuck in the trades. It's not even worth looking at. They'll have trade winds all the way through. Damien's got a good breeze now too, so he's going to go max boat speed. So we go through till the 15th. Next day, okay, the breeze fills in, so hopefully then Arnaud and Ian will keep rolling. Elliot's going to have similar stuff, reasonably pleasant sailing, even with only 1 compass. He must be worried about that. And again on the 16th, it's still breeze, so I think all these guys will be on the roll. The interesting one, as I say, at that stage is going to be what's going on down here, because you can see, you've got this constant flow here. If they go on starboard tack, they're going to be going back up sort of in a northeasterly direction, which is not good. I wouldn't be surprised if they just keep going south until it starts to turn. That's the classic thing to do. That's what you're meant to do. As I said, when I came across here, I ended up below 40. I was down in 42, and I came along the bottom here and up. But watch this space. Going to get